Author is funded by the Pacific Northwest Writers Association, supporting writers from pen to publication since 1955. To learn more about the PNWA and their yearly conference, please go to pnwa.org. Hi, this is Bill Kenower of Author Magazine, and I'm here at the University Bookstore in Bellevue, Washington with Corban Addison, author of The Garden of Burning Sand. Corban, welcome to Author.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so take me to that moment.
Yeah.
It's A Walk Across the Sun is your first published book. And interesting beginning of how was your wife was to some degree responsible for saying you should tell this story.
Yeah,
Did I get that right?
Yeah, she's been sort of the source of pretty much every good idea I've ever had. so I love giving her credit for it. It was actually sort of a moment where I was practicing law, and I enjoyed it for the most part. It wasn't thoroughly fulfilling. It's probably like any other job, but I'd gone to law school because I loved justice, and I couldn't see on a daily basis that I was really adding much justice to the world. I got to help a few people. Most of the time I was fighting other people's wars, but I was writing on the side, and actually it was Marcy who came to me and suggested I merge the two, that I write about justice. And I didn't have an idea at that point, but about a year later we saw a film on human trafficking, and my wife actually said, I think this would be a great topic for your first book, and write about injustice, bring it alive for people, make it real, make it human, hopefully, for the purpose really of both writing a compelling story and also, sort of adding a sense of social conscience, through storytelling.
Okay, so that's what she said.
Yes.
And what happened inside of you when she said that? Because I've had a lot of people say to me, you know what you should write?
Oh, yeah.
Now, if my wife said it, I would pay that much more attention. But you know how that is. When you tell someone you're a writer, they always say, I got a story for you.
No, right, of course, and I've gotten many of those. Right. And only 3 now I've turned into books. The third one is being edited as we speak. But no, it was a moment where I sort of had an aha, like a light went on. I thought, I could do that. I would love to do that. On the other hand, I don't know how the heck I'm going to do that.
Right.
And it was that sort of moment where I had, a choice really about my future and whether I would take the risk of trying. And I had the sense that if I didn't try, I would always regret that. And so for me, trying meant just talking to people, asking questions, seeing if, I knew I'd have to develop all these contacts. I knew I'd have to travel. I knew I'd have to spend our savings to go to some place, and develop the story because it needed to be researched, it needed to be real. But when I started trying and opening my mouth, asking questions, it was amazing how many people came to help me.
And you did research, so you must have met the people involved in this world, this very dark world.
Yes.
Both the villains and the victims.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine for me, that would have lit a fire in me even brighter than just the idea of the vague concept of justice.
Sure.
Now you've got a human face to it.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the very reason that I wanted to write a novel and not write a piece of nonfiction. I mean, a lot of lawyers would think, well, I'll write a piece of nonfiction about an issue I care about. But for me, story is the way to actually sort of merge the mind and the heart in a way that makes an issue human. So yes, I mean, when I went overseas, I developed the story initially, and then went to India, and then went to Europe, and spent time with human rights agencies and with people on the ground, and even went into brothels undercover, posing as a customer in order to get real life experience so that I could write it into my story. And yeah, those were moments that are unforgettable. I mean, they're seared into my conscience. The memory of girls who were there in a brothel that, they likely had been sold as teenagers, and the chances of them ever getting out were minimal. And so I remember a moment, leaving that place with my guide, obviously not having made a purchase, but come away with, really sort of the human face of modern slavery, going back to where I was staying in northern Mumbai and really thinking, what can I do? I mean, is a book enough? But I thought, that's at least something I can do. That's something that's a gift that I can bring to the table. Who knows what will happen with it, but at minimum, that is an act that I can do.
But your books, so they deal with these subjects, but you also have people in them who are the ones, they're the people involved in whatever subject you're talking about, and then you have an outsider who's come in to address it or look at it, and that you've got to then just build a character. Now you're just in the world of just fiction.
Yes.
Do you enjoy one more than the other? Do you, because that's almost 2 hats you're wearing to some degree.
Yeah, it's interesting. A friend of mine in South Africa, when I was there doing research, sort of said, you know, in a way, you're writing faction. You know, the blend of fiction and fact. And to be honest, as a lawyer, you know, it's a good blend for me. You know, when I was working in the law, I would tell stories in the courtroom. It's natural. So I love building characters. I love the fictional aspect of figuring out how to make scenes work, how to keep plots moving, how to build characters that people empathize with, characters that are real, but that fit into the story. I love a lot of backstory and family drama, so my books actually have a lot of sort of family drama elements to them. My characters all have sort of, in different ways, dramatic backdrops, backstories, and I love sort of bringing those into the sort of the front story, if you will, and making it almost like a journey for each of the characters. I'm really into journeys, sort of personal journeys, so my characters go on different kinds of journeys. Sometimes they're introspective journeys, sometimes journeys into the past, sometimes, you know, journeys of finding love, you know, in unexpected places, sometimes journeys to deal with betrayal. That's one of the major themes of The Garden of Burning Sand, actually.
Do you ever feel like your life is a journey? Does it ever feel like a journey to you?
Goodness, of course.
Or are you just locked in the present moment and you can't?
No. In fact, you know, I think that's one of the reasons that we love stories so much, is that we're all living a story. I mean, at the end of the day, what we want to see in story, I mean, unless we want to read for pure escape, which is perfectly fine. I do that from time to time. But a lot of the time, I mean, the most profound stories for me become sort of both mirrors to show me myself in a more real way, and also portals for me to see the world in a different way. And, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, sure, this author journey has been probably the craziest thing I've ever done, but also the most exciting. I don't regret it for a moment.
Yeah, you begin the new book. Alice Hoffman said to me, she's published 27 or 28. When I interviewed her, she said, every time she starts a book, she thinks, I don't know how to do this.
Yes, that's so true.
I don't know how to do this.
I know.
He has to learn all over again.
Yeah. No, it really is kind of weird. I mean, because in that sense, you
don't want to write the last book.
No, exactly. And you're creating something, a real world, and you're populating it with people, you know, for you, who are very real. I mean, my wife, when I go into the cave, which is what she sort of calls the writing world, you know, I lose touch in some very real ways with the world around me. I mean, I'm at the dinner table and I don't know what's being said. And Corban, are you there? You know, your daughter just said something that she thought was important, and here I am, you know, running dialogue, you know, imagining a scene. I'm in, you know, some far off place in my head. It's just as real. So yeah, it's sometimes challenging balancing the two.
So Corban, I've got one more question for you. And what I'd like you to do is finish the sentence for me. If writing has taught me anything, it's taught me what?
Goodness. Yeah, if writing has taught me anything, it's taught me that persistence is absolutely essential for any task that you undertake of any note. This journey that I've been on as a writer has taken me to the edge of myself. It's taken my wife to the edge of herself. It's taken us together to the edge of ourselves, and yet, you know, I think we would look back and say that even though it's been harder than we ever dreamed of, it's been worth it in the end.